States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to ask the council if you will indulge me in moving an item out of the order that is on the agenda, and that is one of the appointments, which is appoint Lenny Taylor to fill a vacant council seat. I would like to handle that at the beginning of this meeting so she has the benefit of being here during the whole meeting. If that's all right with the rest of the council? We have an appointment, and the appointment is to Lenny Taylor to fill a vacant council seat. If you would come forward. Madam Clerk, would you swear her in, please? And then, once you're sworn in, you can take your seat at the podium.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you hereby swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Southfield City Charter, and that you will faithfully perform the duties as a councilwoman in and for the city of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
I will.
Congratulations. Great. Would you like to take a seat?
Please come and take your seat.
Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, why don't we just, you got it. I got to do the. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy the journey.
Sure. The first thing that Ms. Taylor wants to do is cause us some problems. No, she just wants to read a statement.
First of all, I just want to say thank you. I would like to thank the City Council and all of the residents of Southfield for giving me this opportunity to serve the city and the City Council for the next two months. While the circumstances of my appointment may be unfortunate, I really appreciate the many years of service that Council Joan Seymour has given us, and I will embrace the spirit of civil service that she had and use that throughout my tenure. I look forward to working with my fellow council members to build a prosperous and sustainable Southfield. Thank you.
The other statement that I'm going to make is I looked at the number of people that have asked for time to speak to us during the comment section, and I noticed that there were several people that want to talk about the sewers on the west side. And I want to say in the beginning, that's fine. If you want to come and talk about that. We did hear the concerns at our last meeting, and I've asked our city administrator to research the concerns of the citizens and see if we can come up with a solution that can be at least either satisfactory for everyone or not satisfactory to anyone, which is about the same. You're welcome to come to the microphone, but unless you have something new, we've really heard what the concerns are, and I would hate to have you sit through the rest of the meeting only to come to the microphone and tell us what we already know. But that's your choice. And Alliance are playing tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Fracassi.
would that, after we get a report from the administration, would that mean that we could hold a meeting with those people who have a concern and give them the answer to what we have or whatever we have to offer to
Yeah.
correct the situation?
Yeah, it doesn't do us any good to come up with a solution, or at least ideas for a solution, and then not share it with the people that are
Okay.
involved with it. So that will come at the end of the study period. So we do have a presentation of the plaque from the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. Go ahead.
Good evening. On Wednesday, September 6th, I attended the Oakland County Board of Commissioners meeting where Southfield was presented a proclamation in honor of our redevelopment ready community certification by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Redevelopment ready, we were the second city in Oakland County, and there's now a total of 13 communities in the state and 3 in Oakland County that have this certification. It's a certification program designed to promote an effective redevelopment strategy through a set of best practices. It helps attract and retain businesses by offering a streamlined development approval process. And I guess a big shout out goes out to our planning department, Terry Crode and his team, for a lot of the work they did. And I'd like to present the proclamation to the mayor and council president, if that's appropriate.
You can give it to the mayor.
Did you want me to read what it?
You can give it to the mayor.
All right.
He's our official.
All right, so the proclamation reads, it's a Oakland County Board of Commissioners proclamation honoring the city of Southfield. Whereas many of the qualities of life upon which we pride ourselves in Oakland County are due to thoughtful, collaborative community planning and a shared commitment to innovative economic development that benefits local businesses and residents alike. And whereas on December 9th, 2016, the city of Southfield was certified by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation as a redevelopment-ready community, demonstrating that they are a proactive and business-friendly community with effective policies, efficient processes, and broad community support. The Redevelopment Ready Communities program encourages communities to adopt innovative redevelopment strategies which build confidence among businesses and developers. Certification is awarded when a community demonstrates that all 6 redevelopment ready certification best practices are being met, including community plans and public outreach, zoning regulations, development review process, recruitment and education, redevelopment ready sites, and community prosperity. And whereas in January 2014, following a rigorous assessment by the Redevelopment Ready Community Team, the City of Southfield worked diligently to achieve the criteria laid out in the RRC Best Practices, which is designed to establish a deliberate, fair, and consistent development process. The MEDC identified Southfield as a forward-thinking community that has laid the groundwork for significant redevelopment and renewal. Southfield has adopted a vision for a new village center to transform the historic city center and is supported by a 6-year capital improvements plan. Additionally, there is a clear, streamlined process for reviewing site plans. Prime redevelopment sites have been prioritized, packaged, and marketed. An economic strategy has been adopted, and they have developed a marketing strategy. And whereas the city of Southfield was the second community in Oakland County to earn certification as a redevelopment-ready community, and just the 8th in the state of Michigan, Southfield also participated in the Oakland County One Stop Ready program, adopting a stronger open for business philosophy. We commend the city of Southfield for its hard work and dedication to shaping and planning for its future by establishing a solid foundation that retains and attracts business development talent. Now, therefore, Michael J. Gingell, Chairman of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners, together with Commissioners Janet Jackson, Nancy Quarles, and the entire Oakland County Board of Commissioners, do hereby congratulate the City of Southfield for being a certified redevelopment-ready community. We thank them for their ongoing efforts to advance the economic growth and prosperity of Oakland County and to enhance the quality of life for all its residents, attested to this 6th day of September 2017.
Thank you. I would just add that this was a team effort, starting with the work that the council did in support of ordinances and master planning and even our parks plan, and also our business development manager, Shelley Freeman, building department, city administration. This is something to really to crow about, but it was a total team effort, including, of course, our planning department. We have a place upstairs with a growing number of things related to being redevelopment ready, and this will, we have a place on the wall upstairs to showcase this. So thank you for representing us
Thank you.
at Oakland County, and I'll see that it gets placed.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Fracassi?
Yeah, I just would like to take a moment to thank Terry and the planning department because, I was kind of on the outside of it, working with them, and we'd get delays, and they'd come back to us and say, you've got to do this, and we'd go back to the board, and he'd have to do that. It put him under a lot of stress, and it was very difficult to get this, especially when Lathrop Village got that first one, and we were compared to them. That was really the big thing that broke my back. But but planning and Terry did a wonderful job, and dealing with these people, the bureaucrats up there in Lansing, was tough. And I want to thank Oakland County for the resolution they have passed.
Okay, thank you. We do have 3 appointments, or reappointments, and they are the mayoral reappointments.
Good evening once again, Council. Tonight I come before you for the reappointment of Latina Denson, Donald Culpepper, and Stephen Huntington to the Southfield Planning Commission. Their terms have expired, and I'm asking for a motion to reappoint them.
Mr. Chairman, I move that all 3 be appointed to the respective positions.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Fracassi, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we approve the reappointment of Latina Denson, Donald Culpepper, and Stephen Huntington to the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Discussion.
Oh.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Sorry.
That's right.
I'd like to ask Dr. Denson, Mr. Culpepper, and Mr. Huntington to come forward if they're in the audience. And to the clerk.
Where's the other? Nobody else here? Meg on the other 2. I'll take it back.
You want to raise your right hand, please? Do you hereby swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Southfield City Charter, and that you will faithfully perform the duties on the Planning Commission and for the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, according to the best of your ability?
I do.
Okay, congratulations. Could you have you sign right here, please? Thank you.
Thank you. Don't start, don't start, don't start, don't start.
You tell those other 2 professors that I think they got my vote.
We have two sets of minutes to approve. The Committee of the Whole meeting of August 14th, 2017, and the Committee of the Whole meeting of August 21st, 2017.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole of August 14, 2017, and the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes August 21, 2017.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Brightwell, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve the two sets of minutes as read. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. We have a number of items on our consent agenda. Item number 1 is authorization to purchase.
Excuse me, if I could just, I think this should read the regular meeting, not the committee of the whole meeting. So if I could just, I'm just going to note that for the record.
Which
The
one?
min- The minutes were for the regular meeting. And it states on here, committee of the whole meeting, so,
Oh,
thank you.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, make a correction that the minutes for August 21 should read as the regular meeting of the City Council.
For both of them. It's for both dates, isn't it?
what's our?
I'm looking at the schedule. Those are both regular meetings in August.
Both are regular.
Yeah, one was a special meeting.
Yeah, they were both.
The 14th was a special meeting.
No.
But
those
it's
were
written
both
here,
reg-
though.
We didn't have a COW-only meeting in August.
Right.
We had
Just two regular meetings.
Both of them were regular meetings?
both of them.
Both of these were regular meetings,
Right.
so I apologize. There was an error on the agenda.
Okay. 14th and the 28th.
Well, I correct my motion.
Dates are right. It was just they're both.
Oh.
Oh,
No, they
you're
aren't.
right. Yeah.
No, they aren't. According to our schedule, it's the 14th and the 28th.
The 21st was the closed session.
Yes.
It was added after.
So we don't have the 28th meeting minutes yet?
I'm looking at the title, hold on, I'm sorry.
That was price evaluation, but it's that.
The yellow copy, Nancy, goes 14th and 28th on that yellow copy
But
that we
look at-
have under our glass.
That's the 28th.
Correct.
Yeah. We don't have a meeting, 21st.
I'm looking at the minutes. Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the minutes. It says special meeting, committee conducted as a committee of the whole, August 14. And then we go to B,
Closed session.
regular meeting conducted as a committee of the whole, August 21. That's the title of the minutes that are in our package.
Oh, so this is.
Are those titles correct? That's in the package?
So one is the regular meeting conducted as a committee of the whole, so I apologize, August 21st. Looks like we had several meetings on that day, and the other one was a special meeting. Special meeting conducted as a committee of the whole.
Can we just take the titles that are on the minutes?
Does it make sense just to pull them, clerk?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
bring them
Yeah.
back for the next agenda and get it right? Any issue with that? I think that would make more sense.
Yeah, we
'Cause-
need a motion to rescind our
Yeah,
vote.
because
They're right here. We had several meetings. It should have said special meeting.
Okay, let's
Hold on.
take a motion to rescind the,
You could actually reconsider, because it's the same meeting.
okay, all right, we can reconsider. All right, I need a motion to reconsider the last motion.
I make a motion to reconsider the last motion.
Do I have,
Support.
it's been moved and supported that we reconsider the motion that we just took on the approving the minutes of 2 meetings.
Okay, so the August 14th will be the special meeting, and then the August 21st will be the committee of the whole meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the table right now.
To
To
reconsider.
To reconsider. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So We'll expect these on at the next meeting? Because we're going to reconsider it.
August 14th here says special meeting, but that was the 21st was the special meeting. I think that was the personnel evaluation on the 21st.
No, we also had one on the August 14th.
Pardon?
I think
We'll just pull it right now.
Yeah, I think
No.
it makes sense and just,
We'll just pull it.
Yeah,
Regular
Thank you.
meeting.
get it sorted out. Okay, are we okay now?
Thank you.
All right. We have a number of items on our consent agenda. The first item on our consent agenda is the authorization to purchase replacement vehicles for the Building and Public Works Department. We talked about that earlier in the front part of our meeting, the study session portion of our meeting. And there are some vehicles that will be replaced, and some will be repurposed because they're still serviceable. The fiscal impact on the vehicle purchases and would be $212,431. And funding is provided in the budget of 2017 and 2018 motor pool. Item B is reimbursement agreement with the Road Commission for the Oakland County for 2017 season street sweeping services. We will be reimbursed for a certain number of street sweeping performances on the county roads, and it won't be 100% reimbursement because we sweep the streets more often than the county pays for them, but it's part of our curb appeal. So we will expect their check of, let's see what it says here. It's $11,704.05. Item number C is Cronin's and Colitis Foundation, the Michigan chapter. We talked about that earlier, and they want to use our front lawn for a 5K walk to raise funds for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, and that is in the summer of 2018, and it was a favorable consensus by the council, so it's on our agenda for this evening. Item D is the resolution regarding absences from office, and we have a resolution that talks about the reporting and follow-through on elected officials if we're going to be absent from our office. And we have stark and very sensitive issue that points out if we would have had this earlier, things may have been a little different. But this is an important piece of legislation that we need to pass to make sure that we are in contact with each other on a regular basis.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Could we pull that one for discussion?
certainly.
Thank you.
All right. Consent agenda item E is the Southfield Police Department K-9 purchase. We had one of our K-9s retire, and we need to purchase a new dog and to replace the one that retired. And there are funds in the budget for that. They have to send out of the country for the dog. The dog costs $8,500. And once they work with the handler, they will save us more than the cost of the dog. Item F It's a Southfield Police Department Faro Freestyle DX laser scanner. And this is the most modern technology that our police department needs to do scanning of crime scenes, automobile accidents, and all. Today, they use tape measures to measure out distances and all, and the equipment that they have measures hundreds of points, but the new equipment will measure millions of points. It'll come up with a 3D image, and it'll be much more accurate so that they will be able to clearly determine what happened at the scene. Also, they will be able to go into smaller locations than the areas that they can go in now and get accurate locations. Places like closets, very small rooms that they can't get accurate measurements now. And the equipment is pretty expensive, but again, it's worth the money that we're going to spend. And let me find the dollars. It's $17,374.80, and it will be reimbursed from the JAG grant.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we approve consent agenda items A, B, C, E, and F.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Cruz, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we approve consent agenda items A, B, C, E, and F. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Item D was pulled for discussion.
Yes, thank you. I was requesting that this be pulled to discuss how, I was reading over this and I was just questioning, how would this be enforced? How would we follow through on this if someone does not comply?
Mr. Brightwell, you are the primary author of this.
Right.
See, for the direct reports,
Yeah.
you have direct control over the direct report. So the others, I think, it would hopefully not come to a situation where there's a penalty or a consequence attached. But obviously, that's an issue. We know that with respect to elected officials, even though there's a charter provision that brings them under some parameters of council to establish additional duties, the only person or entity that can remove a council person or really sanction them is the governor. So short of that, that's where you are. You would establish those duties. If the clerk or the treasurer would default in those obligations, then that's a breach of duty really under the charter. And again, the only person that's able to remove a council person for some kind of violation, legal violation, would be the governor.
And given that information, would there be parameters around? I mean, I didn't have enough information. Is there one absence, two absence, not absence, but non-compliance? What is wrapped around it that you would say, okay, this is enough, you're non-compliant, and now we have to take another or different form of action?
Maybe I can handle this one. We've talked about it on a number of occasions.
Okay.
And this is a living document and a working document. We don't consider this, we didn't, as we talked about it, we didn't consider this as a complete document. So we wanted to get something on the table, on the books, and then modify it as the needs required. So those comments that you brought up are legitimate comments that we need to study and find out that we're not going to be jailers or anything like that, but our hope is that when you stand down in front, raise your right hand to do your duty, coming to meetings, allowing people to contact you or contacting people so that we know that we're going to have a quorum. We know that for us, for our direct reports, we, the council does have some control over our direct reports so that, again, we can talk with them. We're hopefully all adults, that a message to the person that's the malcontent, if you will.
And not to belabor this, but once this information is given to the council president, will it then be shared? Is that how everyone will know who's and when they're going to be absent? Say, for instance, if the planner is going to be gone for a week, everyone will know by a form of email or something like that?
Yeah, that's the plan. The direct reports, and we have 3 direct reports.
Okay.
They would come to us, or come to the council president and say, I'm going to be on vacation for the next week, and then we would share that with the council president would share it with the rest of the council.
And isn't that, but I'm just saying, maybe it's just me. Is that what's happening now? I mean, when someone is out, don't they let us know now?
Pardon me?
Do they let us know now?
Oh, yeah, they're pretty good at it right now. Every once in a while, they slip up.
Okay,
But,
so I'm just wondering, why are we putting this together? Maybe because I wasn't at the last meeting when this were all discussed, that I have these questions. Because I mean, this is something to me that's already being done. I don't know why we would have to.
This is pretty much to assure that it's being done in the future. Right now, it's a hodgepodge. Some people do it, some people don't. And so this is a process of formalizing this, ensuring that this information is forwarded on a regular basis and is institutionalized. Now, with respect to penalties involved, the direct reports, there's a direct line to penalize those individuals if they are not performing as this is a charter item. With respect to the appointed, it's part of the charter that the council can assign additional duties as needed. So this is legal from a charter standpoint. And if you are in these 2 positions, elected positions, we expect for you to be professional in every aspect in performing that particular job. And this is a part of that performance, which is assuring that you are there to perform the duties of that particular job. So this is a process of formalizing adult behavior, which we shouldn't have to do, but we know that everybody is basically an individual, and sometimes you have rules that guide individuals. So this is pretty much what this boils down to.
I hear what you're saying, and like I said, I'm not going to belabor this here, but I don't agree that we should do this. I think it's already being done to a certain extent. I think that if we start requesting things that we cannot enforce, that it's not a good policy or a good practice. We can for direct reports, I'm not speaking of those, but for an elected official, you cannot enforce something on them. That's just my opinion. I just don't think we should start something that we can't enforce.
We can finish this. There are different ways of enforcing things. This is the route of least resistance with respect to getting these things, getting this adult behavior documented. We can put this into an ordinance and make it a basic law, and the penalties are blah, blah, blah. We can work out penalties.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have one item, item D, that we need to approve. I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve consent item E. G or is it D?
Do I have a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Brightwell, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve the resolution regarding absences from office with a clear understanding that this is a living document that is, the first step is here with, we know with some errors and omissions, and that it needs more work. So with that, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Let the record show there's 6 yeas and 1 nay. 2 nays. 5 yeas and 2 nays. It passes. We have no public hearings, we have no site plans, and we do have several people that have asked for an opportunity to speak to us. But before I call anyone to the microphone, I would like to read this statement. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official performs his or her duties. No person shall use threatening or abusive language when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this action shall be directed by the presiding officer to be ordered to be silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by the disrupting and impeding the order of conduct of the public meeting of the city council, and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. With that said, the first person that asked for time to communicate is Mr. Gerard Mullen. If you come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Gerard Mullen, Southfield Citizens Oversight Committee, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Tonight, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank this council for making a wise choice last Monday night in selecting Lenny Taylor to fill the vacant seat on this council. You may recall after the last council election in 2015, I suggested to this council that council fill any future vacant seat with the #1 runner-up candidate, the one who is next in line, so to speak. That is, the candidate who placed 5th in the 2015 election. In a word, Lenny Taylor in this case. That way the voters and not the politicians determine the replacement. Last Monday night at the Committee of the Whole Council meeting, I again recommended that Lenny Taylor be appointed to council to fill the then current vacancy. And shortly after that, you folks unanimously concurred. I first mentioned this concept 3 years ago, and council apparently agreed with me when you folks in 2014 replaced Jeremy Moss with Lloyd Cruz, the #1 runner-up in 2013, and then a few months later, council replaced Ken Siver with Michael Mandelbaum, the #2 runner-up in 2013. I hope that council continues with this enlightened policy. Thank you.
The next person that has asked for recognition is Ms. Pamela Gerald. you'd come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Residents, you know who I am. I'm your independent voice, and I have been for a long time, and I want to get right to the point. There's another conspiracy happening in the city of Southfield. Southfield's local officers' compensation commission members are the body of people that determine whether or not the mayor, the council, the clerk, and the treasurer gets a raise. On September the 12th, this commission met, and to my disappointment, they voted to give the council and the mayor a raise. They voted to leave the treasurer's salary as is, and our treasurer has not had a raise in 10 years. But what's appalling, I think racist and very discriminatory, our current city clerk, Nancy Banks, makes $99,500. That commission, in the most egregious manner, voted to reduce the clerk's pay down to $14,500. So you do the math. 99.5 subtract 14,500. That's what the new clerk is going to be making. Now, why did they do this? It is purported that the city clerk went to members of the council and the administration talking about some inappropriate things that happened in Macomb Township and also in the city of Detroit. Why is it that for this issue, you want to compare Southfield to Macomb Township in Detroit, but when you voted on that Rizzo contract and there was corruption in Macomb Township, you still voted to give them a new contract when they changed the name from Rizzo to GFL. So I'm looking at the fact that this has never been done. This has never been done to lower an incoming clerk's position pay down to what you want to do. When Nancy got this office in 1999, Nancy was a part-time secretary for 25 years. She did not have clerk's experience. Nobody on that commission voted to lower the pay. Nancy got the pay. And I'll tell you something else she was able to do. Take her part-time status, put it into her pension, and make it count as full-time. One other person has been able to do that here in the city of Southfield, and that's Lori Siskin, the Human Resource Director. Take their part-time status, put it in their pension, and make it full-time. Both of those young ladies are white. Residents, I'm asking you that when this issue comes before council, any council person that's running for office, if they vote on this, do not vote for them and cast one vote. And I'll tell you who that is. If you go to the Southfield Citizens Oversight Committee Facebook page, I'll be telling you who to vote for then. But do not vote for anyone that votes for this issue. I think it's really sad and appalling that so much controversy can be created just because Nancy is not running for the position. Don't do it, council. Don't do it.
The next person that
If I could
asked for...
If I could say something for the record.
Pardon me?
If I could say something for the record.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to correct a few inaccurate comments. I have not been part-time for 25 years. I don't know where that information came from. Second of all, I have not spoken to any council person up there on the dais. That was just insinuated. Third, I never went before...
You've had your 3 minutes. You've had your 3 minutes. Would you please be quiet?
I never went before the Local Officers Compensation Commission. That statement is also false. So there are 3 false statements that were made this evening. And I really think that if people are going to come up to the podium, they should have the correct facts. And for those listening, the things that were just said, they are incorrect facts. Thank you.
Would you please be quiet, or I will ask you to leave? Thank you. The next person that asked for recognition is Mr. Harold Hill. If you'd give your name and address for the record, you have 3 minutes.
Yes. Oh, that's loud. My name is Harold Hill, 22300 Seminole Street, Southfield, Michigan. Longtime resident. Thank you, Council, for taking the time to talk with me. My question was initially about the sewage system. I'm going to defer that for a second then, unless we have a little more time. We had 2 losses in here in Southfield. First, Joan Seymour, 1993. She was on the city council. She will be missed. She was an advocate. I got a chance to talk to her a couple of times. She was a good person. We also had a loss in the area where I live. I go past this area all the time on Telegraph and between 9 and 10. It's a school system. And we lost a young lady. I was caught in that traffic, as a matter of fact. And my heart goes out to the family of that 14-year-old girl that was hit at that intersection. It's got a light, but kids will be kids. And I was talking to a business owner who suggested that he's seen those kids playing in that area. I see them all the time. But he suggested that if it wouldn't cost too much, that possibly there could be an overhead. You know, one of those sections that you go over Telegraph. This was right on Telegraph in between 9 and 10, right near the school. And they have an overpass like this, which is at Clarenceville High School. There's another one at another school system. And because kids, like I said, especially that age group, they do, let's say, kid-type things. So I just wanted to pass it along from Jim, a business owner in Southfield. And I could take the time to, too. I live near Beechwood, and that's where we vote. Several people here even mentioned it. I was going to save that for another time, and I saw on the Southfield Sun that the place is closing soon, and we haven't seen any information on where we are going to vote. So I know that should be coming up pretty soon, but I didn't want it to be a deterrent for voters, and that's an area that I live in. So since I have 50 more seconds, I'll just let you know that there was one concern about the sewage break at that 12-mile, Franklin and Civic Center in that area, Telegraph. And somebody asked me, they said if it was a break because of a county sewage system, why do we have to foot the bill for 60%, if I'm not mistaken, and the county foots the bill for 40%? So that was one question that was brought to me. All right, thank you for your time.
The next person that asked for recognition, Ms. Banks?
If I could just respond, we still will be voting at Beechwood's Center. It will just be at the Pro Shop on site. So there will be signs that day directing. So don't worry, anyone listening, we still are at Beechwood's. Thank you.
All right. The next person that asked for recognition is Stacy Jackson. Give your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Stacy Jackson, 21685 Rougewood Drive, Southfield, Michigan, 48033. And I am here once again to simply assert that the city is executing selective application of a universal city ordinance of Ordinance 1571. And with all due respect, Mr. President, for acknowledging that we were here to speak about that again, during the last session, it was indicated that the council would have 30 days to get back to the city. I'm here today to say it's been 30 days. What we cannot allow, and what I will not personally allow my family and residents and friends to do, is allow the city council to kick this can down the road while I still have neighbors and residents being kicked out of their houses because of their failure to connect to the city. To be quite honest, I've had neighbors who've had tickets or citations from the county, from the city council, that allowed them only 1 day to vacate their homes because they had not connected to the septic system. So to allow this collective body 30 days and still have not been on the agenda today, when we were told to come back for 30 days to have a response, I think is unacceptable. Second point, this ordinance spans back to 1998. In 2016, Gerald Wachowski, whose title was listed here as Special Projects Advisor, sent out the letter saying that residents needed to get their septics inspected for 3 years. If they failed, they were forced to connect. If they passed, then they had to come back in 3 years. What I must enlighten those new to council and those new residents is that Gerald Wachowski's previous title, immediately preceding this advisorship, was Director of City Code Enforcement for the city of Southfield. So how in the world was Gerald allowed to go 15, 20 years without ever contacting city residents about this ordinance, and then wait until 2016 to do so? During that span of 18 years, we've had a demographic that was largely white go 18 years without following this ordinance, sell their homes to unknowing minorities and African Americans who are now in this, faced with this ordinance and losing their homes. Connecting will cost 50% of their home's value. No one's going to lend them the money except the city. This will undoubtedly lead to the largest housing foreclosure the city has seen since the recession. The only point is that residents won't lose their homes to the banks, they'll lose them to you. So now it leads us to believe not only have you been selective with this, that perhaps there's something backhanded like a land grab of some sort. Now there's definitely documentation on record that indicates that the homeowner should have been given the opportunity to make their choice on whether or not they replace or repair. Quite simply, Mr. President, that's what we want to hear. We want the same rights that our previous homeowners were given when the city failed to apply this ordinance. We want to replace and we want to repair. Thank you.
The next person to ask for recognition is Mr. Keith Harris.
How you doing?
Give your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Keith Harris. I'm a part of an organization called All Race and Life Matter. My P.O. Box is 2169, zip code 48037. Look here, I had some harsh words for you on these papers, but I was asked not to give them to you. So I'm just going to be blunt. We want the city manager out of this city. We're planning a protest, anywhere between 200 to 500 people. We want Sue Ward-Wachowski out of this city. We want Jerry Wachowski out of this city. We got plans, and our plans is to keep our homes. We will no longer play with this government. We want action, not tomorrow, not next month, but now. And I'm talking to a lady back there, lost her home. These are not septic tanks. These are families. There are anywhere between 2 to 5 people per house. That's thousands of people. And you cold-heartedly sit here and ignore these families, trying to make a profit. Here, Ken Sivers, you want to free the dang on bear while you dehouse the residents. You're selling our homes that you stole. Enough is enough. We are not going to sit here idle. Monday, I will be seeking a permit. We're going to do this fair. We're going to do this right, and we're going to do this orderly. But I got people ready to stand behind me. We're not playing. Get ready for it.
Please, no demonstrations. Just for the record, the city does not foreclose on homes. The county forecloses on homes.
But you stole.
You've had your 3 minutes.
You're lying.
Excuse me?
Well, I said you're lying.
The next person to ask for recognition is Chris Campbell. If you'd come to the microphone, you have 3 minutes. Give your name and address for the record.
All right, name Chris Campbell, address 26,000 Evergreen, Southfield 48076. I'd like to address the matter of employees attending special open meetings, as well as to clarify why it is that we attend. When you see membership speaking at council meetings such as this, or attending meetings such as CSRS, ACS, or elected official compensation board meetings, are often done at the behest of several members in our union who have inquired, expressed concern, or an interest about them. Now, attendance at these meetings, which are open meetings, are never spurred by one person, party, or entity, but rather it's through much discussion among employees and executive board members before a determination is made to advocate meeting attendance by employees. Now, this all brings us to the recent round of elected official compensation board meetings and some employees who chose to attend. Now, these meetings discuss raises and compensation for elected officials, so it's not surprising that there was a keen interest from several employees to attend these meetings as observers, so as to stay at the pulse of what was discussed and not to rely on hearsay, speculation, or third-party information. Now, here's where it gets interesting. One elected official expressed that he felt that it was inappropriate for employees to be in attendance at these meetings, even going so far as to reinforce that thought in sidebar conversations with select employees and through various back channels with leadership and community residents. Now, perhaps these were well-intentioned motives behind what the selected official was doing in making his feelings known, but there are some fundamental issues with this, and it's as follows. Number one, these are open meetings, and under the Open Meetings Act, employees have every right to be at these meetings and to use their lunch break, personal business, or comp time to do so. Now, according to the Open Meetings Act of Michigan, this cultivates a healthy sense of government accountability, fosters openness and transparency, and enhances responsible decision-making by elected leadership in appointing board members who work side by side with employees who are at the front lines of city services. Now, number two, our union group is made up of professionals who are active community and civic-minded individuals, some of whom are registered voters here in the city. So in principle, what this means is that it was ill-advised and just a little condescending for this elected official to imply or suggest that it was inappropriate for employees to attend the elected official compensation board meeting. And by these actions, it kind of feeds the perception that the city lacks transparency and promotes a notion that there's something to hide, while at the same time elevating these issues to that of labor rights and civil liberties. So what we'd like to say is that this aspect of the workforce culture needs to change and be reframed. Employees should not be treated as mute, voiceless, low-information subordinates, but rather as key investors and stakeholders with a vested interest in the success of our great city. So we'd like to encourage the nurturing of the latter mindset, and that is a win-win for everyone. Why? Because we're cultivating a spirit of cooperation, collaboration, and above all, mutual respect.
Please, no demonstrations, or I'll ask you to be taken out of the meeting. This is a business meeting. Thank you. The next person who's asked for recognition is Shayla Glass. If you come to the microphone, you have 3 minutes. Give your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Shayla Glass. My address is 22205 Maplewood. I'm here to request that the residents be allowed to repair or replace their septic systems as needed. I've been involved with the city for about 1.5 years now, trying to manage this issue. I've been met with nothing but coercive techniques, dishonesty, and misinformation. The divide and conquer method that the city has used to interact with us has let us know that we can't trust the people who are in place to serve. I no longer trust the people who are in place to serve, and that kind of puts me in an uncomfortable situation. The second thing that I'm requesting is more transparency with this process via the website, via communication that goes out by mail. You know, my experience has been that this ordinance is up to interpretation. Depending on who at the city I talk to, I may hear one thing, I may hear something else, and this is something that should be black and white. I have not gotten any updates. You know, I was told by the city 2 meetings ago that there would be an updated list that would go out with contractors that we could use, because the contractors that were on the previous list, nobody wanted to do the job, which I understand. We've got wells, we've got a high water table. It's a very difficult job to do, and we're still being forced to do it. I don't think that's fair. I think the loans from the city represent a conflict of interest. And the fact that we have to go through it, through them to do that is unfair. Thank you.
The next person that asks for recognition is Mr. Hiram Cade.
Good evening. My name is Hiram Cade, and I live at 22175 Maplewood Drive. I would like for my wife to speak first. It's basically the same subject we're on.
To the president, the board, and to our new person, Ms. Taylor. My name is Erica Cade, and I reside at 22175 Maplewood Drive. We live on approximately 1 acre of land, and our home is situated far, far back from the sewer or from the street. We have a well in our front yard. In our basement, we have a walkout. We also have a bathroom in our basement. What I'm asking is to have our septic replaced. I do not want to connect to the sewer.
The reason we're asking for a replacement on the septic field is we're over 240 feet away from the city hookup. Our discharge for the septic, for the sewage, is at the rear of our home. And measuring it out, it's over 240 feet. I've even had an excavating company come out. They've taken a look at it. They said there's no way that I could flow from the back of my house to the front sewage system because of the difference in elevation. I don't even want to think about a pump or anything costly because of power outages and things of that nature, mechanical device going bad. So I'm asking that Ordinance 1571 be amended to allow me to repair or replace my septic field to remedy this situation.
We actually live next door to Shayla Glass. The same people that built her house built my house. So both of our septics are in the back. We both have wells in the front. We both have walkouts. For us to connect to the sewer, besides the cost of that, a pump not working, a pump going out, doing a power outage would be a mess. It would be a disaster for our home.
Thank you.
So we just want to connect to the, have our
Septic
repaired. That's all we want.
Thank you for the consideration, too.
The next person that asked for recognition is Erica Cade. Oh, that's you. All right. Sorry about that. That concludes the people that have asked for communication, recognition. The next item on our agenda, Council. Mr. Mandelbaum.
I wanted to thank the fire department for a wonderful open house that we had 2 weeks ago. It was well attended. There was approximately 1,400 people that showed up at the fire headquarters with demonstrations of putting out fires and things like that. It was very educational and very informative. I also want to give a thanks to the police department. Yesterday they had their softball game against, it was patrol division against the investigation division. It was a great time. They had a dunk tank, they had moon bounce. They really tried to make it inclusive for the community. So I'd like to thank them for doing that and including the community. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Taylor?
Thank you. As many of you have come to the podium and said welcome to me, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I know how difficult it is to come before us, how nervous and how much hard work you put into every piece of research that you came before us and spoke about. As our council president, Myron Frazier, mentioned, they are looking into the situation and there will be a response for all of the residents. But I wanted to personally tell you thank you, personally let you know that I hear you and that I will work with all of you and with the city to get some kind of a resolution as we delve into this matter. So again, I want to say thank you very much.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Brightwell.
Yes. I want to make a couple of announcements related to veterans. On September the 19th, the Women's Veterans Empowerment Coalition is holding a monthly meeting for women only at the Michigan Veterans Foundation at Grand River, 4626 Grand River in Detroit. The telephone number there is 810-373-5774. On September the 30th, the Veterans Education and Transition Service in the Tuskegee Airmen will be hosting a scholarship gala. And the keynote speaker will be Mr. Alexander Jefferson. He's one of the original Tuskegee Airmen. This event will be held in Troy on 2975 East Maple. And also on October 4, the Southfield VFW, located at 2645 9 Mile Road, will be hosting a spaghetti dinner at 7 p.m. And as I mentioned, the last 3 months, the Southeast Michigan Veterans Stand Down will be October 4th and 5 at 3606 East Forest Avenue. A number to call for more information will be 248-808-0929. That's Mr. Wilcox. He's a Marine Corps gunny, so when you call him, just call him Gunny. That's a sergeant in Marine Corps language. That's it.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Mayor?
I would like to mention that yesterday, Wing Hong Restaurant, in conjunction with the City of Southfield, held a Hurricanes Irma and Harvey relief benefit. I want to thank all of the residents that came out. It was very, very well attended from noon until 8 p.m. last night. Again, all of the proceeds from that day's receipts, total proceeds, are going to hurricane relief for our neighbors in Texas and Florida. Thank you.
Do you want to mention anything about the donations for Joan?
Oh, thank you. This afternoon, was mentioned earlier, we had a memorial observance for our recently departed Councilwoman Joan Seymour, who has served on council for almost 3 decades. And we are collecting, she had no family, and we are have a collection going. Donations can be sent to my office, checks payable to the City of Southfield in the memo line, Seymour Memorial Fund. And this will cover funeral expenses.
Okay, thank you. Administration?
The administration has nothing to add at this time. Thank you.
Pardon?
Nothing to add, sir.
Okay. Madam Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. President. As we discussed last week, there are 2 ordinances that council reviewed last week, and there was a consensus to put it on the agenda for tonight for formal consideration. The first one is an amendment to Chapter 113, Animals, amending Section 9.75 to remove that section and insert in lieu thereof a new Section 9.75. And the amendment would allow, as an exception to the prohibition against goats and swine, a pot-bellied pig meeting certain thresholds, specifically not more than 100 pounds in weight and not more than 25 inches in height. Also required certain rabies and other appropriate vaccinations by a licensed vet, and that the pot-bellied pig would have to be kept as a pet indoors, would not be allowed to roam outside other than to be outside in a yard or on a leash for those purposes. It also require registration with the city and pay a license fee similar to a dog license fee. The second proposed ordinance is with respect to window coverings. It amends section, it amends Chapter 11. It adds a new Section 9.50C entitled Window Coverings. And in general, it provides that sheets, newspaper, blankets, and other materials that are not specifically designed as a window covering would be prohibited to be kept in windows in residential structures in the city, except for a period of 90 days when a person first occupies or purchases or otherwise acquires title to that property. So for a temporary period, you could keep those in the windows, but after that 90-day period, those things would need to be removed. Again, you're not required to put up curtains or blinds or anything. There's no requirement. It would just indicate that after that temporary 90-day period, those items like newspapers and sheets would have to be removed. And if there is a agreement to approve those, I had 2 suggested resolutions to do that.
Okay. Council, I need ordinance, first of all, I need the ordinance number.
1681.
1681.
Is that for chapter?
Chapter 111, or
13?
113, 113.
13.
Question.
Okay,
Through the chair.
yeah.
Through the chair, I have a question regarding the window coverings. I know you said it's in a new house, but what if someone, say, I wanted to paint my home or something that I've already lived in for 20, 25 years, and I need to put something over the windows for a temporary period of time until I do that?
Yeah.
Is this?
I think that for a temporary period, that is what is intended as the exception. So if for some reason you put those up, but it can't be a temporary period of 90 days and then you take them down and then another 90 days, and so we evade the ordinance. I think it has to be, again, I think the Code Enforcement Department would work on this and be.
Right, no, I understand that. What I'm asking is if someone that's been in their home for 10, 20 years decides they want to paint or just remodel something in their home, but don't want people outside to be able to look inside. That's a temporary repair to your home, but I don't see where this ordinance is covering that. It's just talking about someone moving into a new home in a residence for 90 days. What if I've been there and I just want to do a repair?
Yeah, and that was the discussion, is that if you start making a lot of those exceptions, that you could, if in essence, the whole intent of the ordinance could be thwarted. Because a person could say, I painted this room today, so now I've got 90 days, and now tomorrow I'm going to paint another room. So instead of getting into that, there was a discussion that there be discretion in the code enforcement, that the intent of the council is that for temporary periods, not successive temporary periods, but if there's a temporary basis of why these things need to be in the windows, that they would work with you. The general situation is usually when someone first moves in. And so the ordinance was intended to deal with that. Again, we talked about some of the discussions in some of the committee meetings were just as you've kind of posed here, what about that? And the more that you make those exceptions, I think it became almost unworkable, because a person could say, well, now I'm still in a temporary situation and I haven't completed yet. And so that 90 days just becomes almost without an end date. So I think that was the discussion.
So then in a situation, a neighbor could report that I'm got paper or newspaper over my window, you would send out an inspector. I could potentially receive a ticket for not complying.
Code enforcement would never just issue a ticket. The first thing they would do would be send a letter advising of the existence of the ordinance. And if, again, this is not a situation like other code violations where you have an affirmative duty to do something different, like if it's peeling paint or a roof, you have to repair that. This would just say you can't have those in the windows more than the 90 days.
So you're looking for it not to be a permanent situation. Could we do like we do other things, like if I'm going to do a repair to my home, sometimes you have to notify the city or give you a permit, and for the next 10 days I'm going to be doing whatever. Would that be something that would be, just to avoid having that problem of someone saying, oh, there's a sheet over the window, this person has had a sheet over their window for 10 days, and then going through the paperwork and all of that for an inspector to come out, for a citation to be written, all this kind of things, just because you wanted to paint your room or something of that nature? or just add a room on. I don't see the room for this in here, and I know that's probably the intent, but we do have a lot of people staying in their homes now, and they want to repair, fix them up. I don't know how that would fit in. I wouldn't want to go through all that paperwork just to paint a room.
Well, I mean, the other way of potentially addressing it would be to simply indicate that, in a one-year period, you couldn't have more than, a certain number of days with those in to address the kind of situation that you're addressing, is that, and then we wouldn't have these kind of ones that just go over and over and over again. So, I mean, that could be to encompass some type of modernization or work to the house, and it wouldn't exceed one time per year, not to exceed a certain number of days. That could easily be added.
I agree. I don't want any permanent, curtains or newspapers. That I fully understand the intent. I was just questioning the one-offs, the people that may just be home improvement type things. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1681.
Do I have a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Brightwell, that we approve ordinance number 1681. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Next item?
Well, that's also now needs to be introduced, so you approve the ordinance.
Okay, it's going to be introduced when it was written and published, right?
I'm sorry?
It's going to be effective when it's published.
Well, it'll come back for the next meeting for enactment. This is not an emergency ordinance, so,
All right.
it would be introduced tonight, come back for enactment, then publication.
Okay.
And this, just to be clear, this is the one on animals. This is not the discussion that we just had.
I'd like to move that we introduce ordinance number 1681.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we introduce ordinance number 1681. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I presume the next one is 1682.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 1682.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we approve ordinance number 1682.
Can we include what we discussed?
We'd have to do an amendment because we have the ordinance already written. We'd have to amend it.
Okay.
Or if you did not want to act on it, if there was a consensus that you wanted to add that concept, I could do that and bring it back to the next meeting, however council wants to proceed. I understand there's a motion on the table at this point.
Yeah. Personally, I would like to not handcuff the code enforcement officers, give them some flexibility for making a decision by working with a resident, whether they're immediately moving in or if they've been there for 25 years. So, but if you feel comfortable making the amendment, we have to amend it before we approve the ordinance. Because if we approve the ordinance, then we have to start all over again by amending it, so, okay?
Okay.
So we have to withdraw this motion in order to put an amendment on it, and then if we pass the amendment, then we vote on the ordinance as amended.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could we go ahead with what we presently have before us and see what works, and if there are complaints, that we then amend it?
Absolutely. So I have a motion by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Mr. Cruz, that we approve ordinance number 1682. Is there any further discussion? Are we prepared to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Mr.
No,
Oh,
I
go
need
ahead.
to introduce.
Yeah. I move to introduce the ordinance, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Fracassi and supported by Mr. Mandelbaum that we introduce ordinance number 1682, window coverings. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. I would ask the city administrator or city attorney to let us know in a reasonable amount of time whether there are any complaints that of people with window coverings that aren't outside of this ordinance.
Okay.
And then we can deal with it at that point,
Okay.
as Mr. Fracassi has suggested.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest also that the administration talk to the Director of Code Enforcement to understand what we were trying to attempt to do so that they use discretion.
Absolutely. I will treat that as through the chair to the city administrator.
Okay.
Sir, we have a meeting planned Wednesday. We'll discuss it then.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk? Treasurer?
There's
Planner?
nothing, thank you.
Assessor? Engineer? Do you have anything to come before the council? We have nothing to schedule. We already played around with our ordinances. If there's nothing more to come before the council, the meeting is adjourned.